Good evening, everyone. It's me again, Gordon Causey, coming live right now. And right now it is 11:16 p.m. on Sunday, the 4th of September. Tomorrow is Labor Day weekend. And this is going to be somewhat sobering because we talking about what I see coming in the coming weeks, months, as the temperature starts to fall. You may have heard it was reported in mainstream media and Canada's Post Media network that there's talk of booster shots every 90 days. I have no words left. I mean, what other vaccine has ever, required booster shots every 3 months? And that's what they're talking about coming this fall. I'll go straight to the source, and the source being Canada's the National Advisory Committee on Immunization. And this is on a quote directly from government of the website. NACI, again, that stands for National Advisory Committee on Immunization. NACI continues to recommend that COVID-19 booster shot doses may be offered at an interval of 6 months after a previous COVID-19 vaccine dose or SARS-CoV-2 infection, regardless of the product offered. However, a shorter interval of at least 3 months may be warranted in the context of heightened epidemiologic risk, as well as operational considerations for the efficient deployment of the COVID-19 vaccination program, end quote. And there's, in the Post Media News article, they quote Dr. Howard Najou, who's the Deputy Chief Public Health Officer. So I'm assuming number 2 to Theresa Tam. Dr. Howard Najou, Deputy Chief Public Health Officer, said a booster every 6 months, quote, is not enough, end quote, due to waning effectiveness. And then the quote goes on. If you've had a previous booster dose, whatever number you've had before, or infection, you should wait 6 months. But certainly, based on local circumstances, other considerations, that interval may be decreased down to like 3 months or so, said Najou. And I was going to stay away from the Bible for a bit and just talk about the times we're living in. But there's a quote from the Bible. I'm not going to read it, but it's Jesus speaking, and he says words very close to this effect. You look at the sky at night, and you see that it is red, and you know that good weather is coming. Or you wake up in the morning and see the sky red, and you know that means bad weather is coming. You can read the signs in the sky, but you can't read the signs of the times in which you are living. And as I say, that's not a direct quote. I'm not reading it verbatim. And as I've said before, Jesus was not speaking in English regardless, so translations vary. Anyway, what are the signs of the times that we're living in? Well, we are coming up to the fall and the winter when weather gets colder. And one thing we know in the cold weather, especially Canadians, is that we enter what is called flu season. And typically, health officials will declare that flu season is commenced. And it's usually a date sometime in October. And of course, this is going back to pre-COVID times, because as we all know, the flu, for all intents and purposes, basically disappeared over the past 2 years. But in years 2019 and years previous, maybe October 10th, after having read in public reports and infection rates and such, it would be announced that on October 10th, they would announce that flu season officially started October 5th. We've poured over the data and flu season is here. And they would tell you to go get a flu shot, which I never did. Then flu season would be declared over sometime March, April. It was around 6 months. And so we know flu, which is a virus, an airborne respiratory virus like COVID, that it circulates and transmits at much higher rates during the colder fall and winter months. And as to the question of why, I was curious to know the why. And I found an article published by BBC all the way back in 2015. Seems like a lifetime ago. The start of that year, I was living in Quebec City. So 2015, they put out an article and they put forth a number of reasons why. And one reason they put down was because of the humidity conditions in the air. Everyone talks about the fact that in the winter months, the air is so dry. The air is so dry. And when you're talking about an airborne virus, and we all are constantly spewing our droplets and our aerosols in dry, non-humid conditions, those droplets, first of all, can break up into smaller droplets. According to the BBC article, according to their research, they can hang in the air for not just hours. The article said days. And so it just painted the picture of, people are spending more time indoors and conditions are not humid, they're dry, which means the virus remains, an airborne virus circulates much more. Then during the warmer months when there is humidity, because humidity basically the virus falls to the ground. Gravity, if you will, it drops. And so the atmospheric conditions, for lack of a better term, are ideal for the virus to be present in the air that we are breathing. That's one point. Second point is that with our noses, our respiratory tracts, everything, they have defenses built into them to protect a virus from getting inside of us. And apparently during the winter months, those defenses, the mucus and all this other stuff was beyond my pay grade. But those defenses are down. Another point it brought up is that during the colder winter months, especially in a country like Canada, where there's decreased amount of sunlight and people aren't spending much time outdoors, we get less sun, we get less vitamin D, and vitamin D is an essential element to having a robust and a healthy immune system. So you have virus present in the air you're breathing. You have the defenses in your nasal passages, respiratory tract diminished. You have lower vitamin D potentially, which can weaken your immune system. And the last point that I'll bring up in the article, it mentioned that our blood vessels contract in the winter to conserve heat. And so the supply of white blood cells, which are used to fight infection, they're impeded from attacking the virus, a viral infection early. And now this was an article from 2015, and it was talking specific, for the most part, they didn't just talk about flu, but it largely largely, probably 90% of the article centered on flu, on seasonal influenzas. And now, of course, we have COVID. And the big change now, of course, is that in Ontario, if the numbers being published by our public health officials in this province are on the money, and I suspect that if they're not on the money, they're darn close. They are saying that 90% of the 12 and up population has taken, and I'm going to call it the juice. So 90% have had 2 swigs of the juice. And I know that many are saying, well, I'm not getting a third. I'm not. And I think we're hovering somewhere around the 50% mark, according to public health officials, according to official media releases. We're hovering at around 50% of the people who've taken two shots of the juice have declined the third. But what's going to happen in the fall? I've spoken before about the fact that there's a condition, there's something called antibody dependency enhancement, ADE, spoken about by Nobel Prize winning virologist, the late Dr. Luc Montagnier of France, who won the Nobel Prize for isolating HIV. And he, as well as another gentleman by the name of Dr. Geert van den Bosch, who had senior roles in vaccine development with 2 pharmaceutical giants, GlaxoSmithKline, GSK, and Novartis. Both these gentlemen, as well as countless others, have talked about this phenomenon or this condition of antibody dependency enhancement. And as I understand it, I would encourage you to go to the source. Go to either their videos by those 2 gentlemen, as well as others. But I've listened to videos and read articles. Dr. van den Bosch published an urgent appeal. And my understanding, seeing Dr. van den Bosch interviewed and Luc Montagnier, is that the juice-induced antibodies, it leads to your body producing antibodies, and those antibodies outcompete your own natural innate immune system response. They kind of take it over, and it weakens your own natural innate immune system. That's what antibody dependency enhancement means. And you're dependent on the antibodies generated by the juice as opposed to your own natural immune system. And I think this is why we're seeing them talking about boosters every 90 days. I think it's completely plausible that in the very short term, there is a boost in antibodies. However, as we've seen, it doesn't last. And now they're talking about 90 days. You got to go 4 times a year, potentially, to get boosted, to get more juice. And I think a lot of people have woken up to the fact and they've realized I made a mistake. I shouldn't have signed up for this. And so now they're resisting. Now they're saying, I'm not getting a third. I'm not taking a third swig of the juice. But what is going to happen in the fall when viral pathogens like SARS-CoV-2, like influenza, potentially, I think monkeypox may fall into this category as well. My dog may fall into monkeypox may fall into this category as well, because there are papers that have been published that say the virus is present, the monkeypox virus is present in airborne aerosols as well. And are we going to see a lot of people getting sick this fall? And if people start getting sick, genuinely sick, I'm not talking about COVID, I'm not talking about a mild dry, non-productive cough, aches and pain, muscle aches and pains and a headache. I'm talking about people actually being sick. spiking high fevers, and goodness knows what else. Will they still then say, okay, I guess I've got to go and get some more juice? And this is where things get. We saw what happened during the COVID era. June, it was May or June when I was listening to online commentators, internet chatter, for lack of a better word. That's what it was, just internet chatter. But it seemed it seemed perfectly reasonable to me at the time. There were individuals saying they're going to approve this juice. They're going to. It's a done deal, and I believed it. And I started to share those opinions as well. That it's a done deal. And I think it's highly. I think it's entirely within the realm of possibility, and I lean this way heavily that the virus was created for the juice, not the juice for the virus. This is an agenda, and the central plank, the crux of the entire agenda was to get as many people juiced as possible in the population. And the lockdown measures, the passports, the mandates, the masks, all the measures were designed to ensure that people would bow their knee. I'm going to get into the Bible, because the Bible tells us, and I've said this before, 365 times it says to fear not. And yet when you turned on the nightly news or any newscast at any time of day, fear was being programmed into the population. People were being programmed to be afraid. And when that didn't work, because there was still a significant percentage of the population who said, no, this was, based on sound scientific reasons. You can't establish a long-term safety profile for any pharmaceutical product without long-term safety data, and they didn't have it. So they're beyond a religious reason for not wanting to drink the juice. There was sound scientific reasons for not wanting to drink the juice. But then came the coercion. If you don't take it, you can't work, you can't take your kids to hockey, you can't travel, you can't sit down in a restaurant. We all know all these. And a lot of people, I've spoken to a lot of people who've said to me, well, I didn't want to, but I had no choice. And now I'm going to get into the Bible. I had no choice. I have an issue with that. And it speaks to idolatry. It speaks to those things that we place before God. And God, as I've said many times, as quoting from the Bible, Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. And people bow down to a lie because they idolize the ability to travel, their job. And I get it. I do understand, that there are consequences. And not everyone was willing to face those consequences. I think having faith in God helps enormously to face those consequences and to say, I'm not bowing down. I've quoted before from the book of Daniel. I won't read the passage, but in the book of Daniel, one of the major prophets in the Bible, there are three young Hebrews, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and they are told to bow down to the golden image of Nebuchadnezzar, or there will be consequences. Bow down or you'll be thrown into a furnace. Bow down or you can't work. Bow down or you can't get on an airplane. Bow down or you can't go visit a dying relative. And Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego refused to bow down to the lie, even at the penalty of what would appear to be an assured death. But for Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, bowing down before that image would have separated them from something far more important and something far more eternal, their God, the God, maker of heaven and earth. And so they refused and were cast into the furnace. That account is there, and it's to speak to us in today's world. And I'm just looking down. I did make some notes. And I get that faith is hard, but I get the feeling that the hour's late, the time is short. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Everyone looking for a political solution, for a legal solution, for some prominent public figure like a Robert Kennedy, a Robert Malone, I think it's Peter McCulloch, Dr. Michael Yeadon. There are all manner of them. Anyone thinking that there's a savior who's going to crash this whole agenda is going to be disappointed, more than disappointed. And I've said it before, and I'm saying it again. There's only one in whom victory is assured, and that is Jesus Christ. And I had an acquaintance say to me, who I've testified to on numerous occasions, and he has made, the comment, and I think a lot of people think this way. Well, why doesn't God just make it easy? Why doesn't God just, show up and do something, make the decision obvious? And this is where I will get into a scriptural passage from the book of Luke, because we human beings, we want things easy. When something's wrong with our car, we want to open the hood, look underneath, and see a big on-off switch in the off position. Oh, I just had to turn it on. We want something super brain dead, simple. We want God to show up and just take our decision making, take our choice away, and just make it so that it's obvious. And so the passage I'm reading is from Luke. It's in chapter 16. I'm starting in verse 19. This is Jesus speaking. He was speaking to the Pharisees. Anyway, here is his quote. Luke 16, starting in verse 19. There was a rich man who was clothed in purple and fine linen, who feasted sumptuously every day. And at his gate lay a poor man named Lazarus, full of sores, who desired to be fed with what fell from the rich man's table. Moreover, the dogs came and licked his sores. The poor man died and was carried by the angels to Abraham's bosom. The rich man also died and was buried, and in Hades, being in torment, he lifted up his eyes and saw Abraham far off and Lazarus in his bosom. And he called out, Father Abraham, have mercy upon me and send Lazarus to dip the end of his finger in water and cool my tongue, for I am in anguish in this flame. But Abraham said, Son, remember that you in your lifetime received your good things, and Lazarus in like manner evil things. But now he is comforted here, and you are in anguish. And besides all this, between us and you, a great chasm has been fixed, in order that those who would from here to you may not be able, and none may cross from there to us. And he said, then I beg you, Father, to send him to my father's house, for I have 5 brothers, so that he may warn them, lest they also come into this place of torment. But Abraham said, they have Moses and the prophets, let them hear them. And he said, no, Father Abraham, but if someone goes to them from the dead, they will repent. He said to him, if they do not hear Moses and the prophets, neither will they be convinced if someone should rise from the dead. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Even if God showed up and made it obvious, it wouldn't work. And that's not the way God works. God works through his creation, and he does work. And we like the supernatural. We're living the supernatural. Our existence is supernatural. We are made in the image and after the likeness of Elohim. There's a word a Jewish person would never say, except within the context of a service. I am. So, time is short. I'm not setting dates. I don't know how long this is going to go on, but I do know it's not ending. I think I genuinely believe that come this fall, we're going to be seeing levels of illness we've not seen before. Might be monkeypox, COVID, influenzas, Langya-Henipavirus, Marburg, hemorrhagic. If people have weakened their immune systems, and I think it will be harder for those like myself who have declined, because we're going to be blamed. We are going to be the reason. And people love a scapegoat. There's another biblical term, scapegoat. I'll leave you to look that one up yourself. People like something or someone onto whom they can place their own failings. They put faith, trust, hope into a miracle from medical science, and it let them, and they were led astray. And so, are they going to blame themselves for misplacing that faith, hope, and trust? No. They're going to blame me. And if, like me, you decline the juice, they're going to blame you. And continuing to say no is going to be even harder. And that's just simple reality. It's going to be harder and harder to say no. You think it was hard before. And Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, you saw how far Nebuchadnezzar went. Heat up that furnace 7 times what it normally would be heated. And if they don't bow down, throw them in. And this is where I say, the only place you're going to find victory. The only place you're going to find victory, if you think the finish line is this life, if you think that's it, that consciousness ends, that you live, you die, and you are worms meat for the worms, if that's your timeline, well, I would argue there's a logic to playing along, because there is no ultimate truth then. There's no God then. If that's your worldview, that all of this wondrous creation that God made, that it is simply a random accident, and that your existence is simply a question of time plus matter plus chance, just luck. If that's your belief system, well, then there is no ultimate truth and there is no ultimate God. And this is why, and I get it, that having faith in the Bible is hard in this world because we have been programmed to disregard it and to view and to bring about the condemnation. I love that word. To bring about the ridicule and scorn of the world on anyone, anyone who dares profess a belief in a creator God and who so loved the world that he sent his only begotten Son to be sacrificed on a cross to pay the atonement, to pay the penalty of our sins. That is such a powerful message, such an incredibly powerful message. What king, what ruler, what leader will die for you? Will Justin Trudeau die for you? Joe Biden? Donald Trump? PHAC? Jesus already did it, and it did happen. So probably one of my shorter videos, and I'm going to wrap it up. And this time I'm just going to say I'm going to wrap it up, and I am going to wrap it up. So God bless. And as always, any questions, any comments, go ahead. I can't promise that I can answer questions, but hopefully I can point in the right direction to where the answers can be found. Chances are I'll point to something in the Bible. Anyway, God bless. Good night all, and happy Labor Day.